Hey everyone, welcome to the results video for the Dark Ride section coaster contest. Now, that's a whole lot of words. Basically what we mean is a coaster that has a dark ride section somewhere along the track. So a section where it moves slowly among scenery, usually indoors. And for the rest, it also has to have a normal fast section. Like you can see, for example, over here. Here we have a little indoor section where the coaster slowly travels upward. And here at the end we have another little indoor section where the coaster just travels slowly among some scenes. Now, we got 13 entries for this contest. In this video I will show all of them. I'll start with the one that got the lowest score. And I'll finish by announcing who's the winner of this round. Okay, in 13th place we have the entry from Banaan Fanaat. He created this coaster in quite a cool landscape, I think. He made a funny palette where I think the red has been switched with blue, and this is probably the kind of the red alien landscape. And now it kind of looks blue. I quite like the way this landscape looks when he did that. I think as a side effect, the guests also have blue faces now. Now, as for the coaster, it mostly just travels around normally here, and then here somewhere at the top it has this tiny dark ride section. Let me use the cutaway view here. Over here, yep. So let's move down a little bit. Now, to be fair, there's not really too much to see in this dark ride section, so I think that's a little bit disappointing. Now, he did have a cool story about some Illuminati stuff and aliens or something. I wish it would have tied into the park a little bit more. Overall, I think it's a pretty cool coaster. I just wish the dark ride section was a little bit more impressive. Okay, the next entry is from Infinite Sadness and Horror Girl. And together they created this big castle which has a coaster in it. Now, when we look outside the castle, we can already see some cool scenes. Especially like this little graveyard scene. Now, these are hover bikes, but it kind of looks like there's ghosts floating around. So I think that's really cool. Now, I can also see some other rides here. Now, just a quick tip here at the edge of the land. This looks like a flat, grassy land with some trees on it. This will look 100 times better. If you just have a little bit of terrain elevation, maybe do a little bit of ground texturing, mix in some of the muddy grass, and also put some bushes in between the trees, and that will immediately make this area look better. Just a little side step here. Over here there's this big castle. Now there's a coaster here that travels through it, so I'm just going to use the cutaway view. Here the coaster is outside, travels over the graveyard, and here it goes inside. Now, I think this maybe could have been decorated a little bit more to be a nicer dark ride scene. Well, since obviously in this contest people will use the cutaway view, so it's best to also decorate on the inside really well. There's also some other scenes over here. It looks like some of these supports here are a bit disconnected. Yeah, so from this angle, they actually look connected, this angle as well. But from this angle, it doesn't really work. So probably they're a bit higher, or they're probably a bit higher than the rest of the track. So it might always be a good idea to check from all angles when you do something like this. But overall, I think it's a good effort. And I think they did a really nice job on the castle. Okay, next up is the entry from Savvy Adam. And he created this whiskey distillery. I believe it's somewhere on an island. So over here the guests enter through a ferry. And then over here there's several of these buildings which coaster travels through. So here's the station for the coaster. And in each of these buildings there's part of the whiskey making process. Over here, there's some stuff going on here. I believe there's some text on. Yeah, so this is the fermenting room. That's what the signs say. There's the mash room, distilling room, I think that's pretty cool. Now, however, when you make a building like this where you're supposed to look inside, you probably shouldn't have grass on the floor. Because, yeah, people are gonna notice if they have to use cutaway view when to look inside the building. So probably better to also put some of these base blocks here, or maybe some sand, at least. Now for the rest, yeah, I think this entry is pretty cool. It's a little bit glitchy here. But yeah, for the foliage, yeah, probably there's no actual trees on this island. Not really sure, but I think he tried to recreate an island. I think it would look better with a little bit of ground texturing. That's something which Savvy Adam often doesn't do. Oh, I see the dirty grass isn't actually selected. But yeah, if you mix a little bit of this in, like so, I think this immediately just makes it so much nicer. Makes it a little bit less repetitive. Just look at how it immediately becomes so much nicer. Well, in my opinion, at least. But yeah, that might be a tip for next entry. Hey, here's another building we can look inside. Here's lots of barrels. Now, I think it would be nice maybe to stack some of these barrels, or maybe put some in a different orientation. Well, however, this is probably what it looks like in the real thing as well. But yeah, I think it could have been made yeah, to look a little bit more interesting if there was a bit more variation. But yeah, overall, I think it's a pretty cool entry, and I think it's definitely a very creative and a fun way, yeah, to make a dark ride coaster, with a tour through a factory. I think that's really creative. Okay, the next entry is from Me Lover Boy. It's an interesting name. Now, over here he created this big pyramid. Now, I think this pyramid looks really cool. Yeah, these pieces from the pyramid you can actually copy and paste them and then make a bigger structure. And I think Me Lover Boy did a great job there. Now, I especially like this section here, which looks a bit overgrown with some ruins. Yeah, I think this is a really cool section of the park. Now over here is more of a desert section. I think this part could have maybe been a little bit nicer. Maybe there were some fences around the path, or maybe a little bit more foliage, maybe some more water. There's something more interesting here to look at. Yeah, it's quite difficult to make an interesting looking desert in OpenRCT2, but basically it will usually look a bit better if you try to add a bit more yeah, stuff for people to look at. Yeah, of course we can also look inside the pyramid. I believe there were 2 heights at which we could check. So for the first section we should look at 9 meters. So we can see the coaster snake back and forth in this section here. It passed some water. I think that's pretty cool. And over here there's a section where these mine carts fly by. You'll see some bones over here. Then if we go to 12.75, I believe, and here we can see some really nice pillars. Yeah, I think this is a pretty nice first entry from Me Lover Boy. Okay, here's the entry from Tom Gastenveld. Now, he hasn't joined the contest on my community for many years. So it was quite a surprise to see him back. And yeah, I think it's really cool that he joined this contest. Over here, I believe the station for the coaster is somewhere over here. I can see some guests queuing here. And first they travel through this aquarium here. Now lots of wildlife around them. You can see some sharks, some eels. I think that's really cool. Then after that they get launched out of the aquarium. And then they travel through several inversions throughout this track here. Here's another little lunch section. Yeah, I think that's really cool. And here we can see a big octopus or a kraken. Yeah, I think that's really nice. Looks like it's an octopus. Yeah, some other cool rides as well. I can see these sharks getting launched here at this top spin. That's some fun interaction. Now, I do think the scenery here is maybe a tad repetitive. Just lots of trees and bushes having been spammed here. I think it would have looked nicer maybe if there was something else, something interesting here. Maybe a little tower or something like that. But yeah, overall, I think it's a pretty nice entry. And I think it's really cool to see Tom Gastenveld back in the community. Okay, next entry is from Lurker. Now, it looks like Lurker made a little bit of a spooky entry. You can see lots of skulls here. And this big castle in the middle as well. Lots of cannons on the top of the castle as well. And there's this big coaster which travels all around the entry. Now, and if we look inside the castle here. So let's quickly use the cutaway view. And inside here, you can see lots of different rooms in the castle. And we can see lots of different creatures. And there's also several torture scenes. So let me see if I can find one. I think it's from this angle. There's some guests here in the water. They help I'm drowning. This is fine. There's also a guest hanging here. I want to get out of water torture. The coaster is called Dungeon Escape. I think I saw something about Marcel's torture rooms. Oh yeah, this entertainer is called Marcel the Torturer. Here's a guest stuck in one of these nets. Yeah, there's some really funny scenes here. Hey, if you're ever making a coaster that has a dark ride section or just a dark ride in general, try to include some peep scenes, maybe some staff or some guests, and it will definitely really improve your scene. And the rest of the coaster, I think it's also pretty nice. Doesn't really look groundbreaking. You can see a little loop here. Yeah, I think this coaster could have benefited from maybe a second inversion or a third inversion somewhere here in the track, just to make the rest of the coaster a little bit more interesting. Because here it's just some helixes and dips and hills. Overall, pretty nice entry from Lurker. Okay, the next entry is from TechnoKiwi91. Now, he made this really big church-like building called the Sacrifice. This is where the coaster station is. Here we can see on the lower floor, we can see the queue line here for the guests and the station in the middle. I think that looks really cool. And this is probably the exit in the same style. Now, then the coaster travels through the second floor. This kind of looks more like a church setting. And then after that, it travels through several inversions. Now, I really like this middle section, by the way, where all the guests are walking. That's really cool, also with this big drawing on the floor, made with coaster tracks. Now, I also love the ceiling here above it. It does look a little bit off-center. These are not really aligned well. Not really sure if it's possible, but that would have been nice, I think. Now, over here, here's a lower section. This part is probably a little bit too fast to be a dark ride section. But yeah, the coaster travels through several helixes here. There's also this big spider turning around here. These are probably spider webs. Yeah. Then after this, the coaster gets launched upwards, and here's another little section. With lots of this bubbling goo and stuff. But yeah, I think this is a really cool looking entry. I think maybe these dark ride sections could have been maybe extended a bit and gotten a bit more attention. But overall, I think it's a really cool entry. Alright, the next entry is from B Player. And B Player made this really cool orange coaster here. It's actually called Taiga. I'm not really sure if Taiga is a great name for a coaster that looks to be in an sort of like an African setting. Lots of jungle foliage around. All looks quite lush. So probably it could have gotten a name that's more fitting for this climate. But still, I think the coaster looks really cool. Has some interesting support here as well. And yeah, here's this big building, and the coaster also has several of these dark ride sections. Now, there are some cutouts here in the building, but to be fair, yeah, I think the cutouts maybe could have been done a little bit nicer. If more of the wall here was cut out, for example, you could have gotten a nicer look inside. Now, I actually spoke to BE Player and he said he was gonna do that, but he didn't actually do that in the end. So this scene here, for example, is also a little bit difficult to see. Now, of course, you can still use the cutaway view and get a better look. But if you make cutouts in the building, then probably you don't want players to actually use the cutaway view. But still, I think it's a really cool looking coaster. So it looks like a big backward spike here. So it has this triple lunge section here. Yeah, really cool decorations for the building. And yeah, I do think this scene over here is really cool. I just wish we could see a little bit more of the coaster here in these cutouts. Also some other cool rides here. Here we see a big inverted coaster. And here's this splash boat ride. Now when you build a coaster like this, I do always recommend staying a little bit away from the edge, so the coaster doesn't look squished into this area here. But yeah, overall I really like the atmosphere in this park. Nice work. Okay, next entry is from Tol JK26. And he created this really cool looking coaster. It's named after It, so the clown. Yeah, when you're looking at this, you may be wondering where the dark ride section actually is. But yeah, the coaster travels quite fast above ground here. But at some point it goes underground here. And then underground, there's this whole layer. You can see some peeps walking or standing around with balloons. And here in the middle, there's all these guests floating in midair. You can also see all these tubes that end up in this section. Also with some water runoff. I think that looks really cool. Now, I haven't actually seen the movie myself, but I do think this is done really nicely. Now, in the rest of the map, I think it also looks really nice. I love this building here. This looks amazing with all the brown foliage around. Yeah, a nice mix of walls and roofs to make this structure. I think all these other structures here also look great. Yeah, wonderful work. Okay, next up, one of my favorite entries. This one's from Supranormal. And Supranormal created this really cool Jurassic themed coaster. So here you can see one of these trains. It's actually a train of these spinning wild mouse vehicles. Now slowly travels up in this tower around this big rock in the middle with all these bones. That's really nicely done. Also love these lights that are spinning around here. Yeah, that's just a really well done dark ride section. And then after that, the coaster travels around here in this section in between these recolored dinosaurs. And here's another dark ride section around these trees with these pterodactyls flying around. Really nicely done. I love the way this tree sits here. Also with the wall and the roof cut out. Yeah, this cutout is just really nicely done. Over here you can see a big dinosaur face where the coaster gets launched again. And then there's this other section outdoors. This drop tower also looks really cool. And then after that, here's another little dark ride section. Yeah, this just looks amazing. You can see this big volcano here. Or maybe this is the end of the dinosaurs. You can see some meteorites here. Looks like meteorites with the smoke. And this is probably then a crater. And this is where the dinosaurs go extinct. I hope that's what the scenes portray. Now here's another really cool trick that Supranormal used. I love how he did this queue where the guests are surrounded by bones here. That's a really neat trick. Yeah, and the foliage also really nicely done. Also several other rides in this entry. Yeah, I just loved everything about this entry. Wonderful work from Supranormal. Okay, the next entry is from AJ, or Geese, is the name he goes by these days. Now, he made this really cool looking, well, what looks like an air-powered vertical coaster. At least it uses those vehicles. I think the track that he used also looks really nice. Looks like a mix between the Giga Coaster track and some single rail coaster track. Also these these custom supports that he did with these observation tower track and these poles. I think it looks really nice as well. Yeah, the coaster travels around this structure, this pagoda, which also looks great. Now, of course, this is the dark ride section coaster contest. So yeah, the station is over here. The coaster then travels down under the queue here, and then over here it gets stopped for a while. Probably a block break section. And yeah, I think this scene here looks really cool. Looks like some sort of chaos. Looks like some sort of waves. And yeah, you can also see some boats flying around. You can see these clouds here made with text. So most of these are just O's. I can also see a hidden text here saying "Hi gay." So I guess everybody who watches this video is gay now. But yeah, I think it's a really nicely done entry. Foliage looks really nice. These buildings look nice. I love the way that AJ did the queue here. And these docks also look great. Also love this abandoned dock. Yeah, it's really nice to see an entry from AJ again in one of these contests. Really nicely done. Alright, there's just 2 more entries remaining. I will first show both of them, and after that I will reveal which one is the winner of this round. Okay, here's the entry from Nati's Dreamland. Now, Nati's Dreamland made this really nice landscape here. And this coaster is called Bill Cipher's Revenge. Now, I had no idea who Bill Cipher was, so I looked it up on YouTube. And apparently it's from, well, the scene that I saw was from some cartoon animation. And he was like this a guy that looked like a triangle. Now, I think we can see him somewhere in the entry. Oh, we can see him over here. Looks like lots of formulas here, yeah, along the ride. And over here, there's also a scene where he pops up. Let me quickly speed it up here. The coaster train arrives here. And then over here, I believe there's a drop track. Here you can see the triangle guy showing up. Now, once again, not really familiar with this, but I do think this scene is really nicely done. Now, the coaster also looks really nice. So over here we have the fast section of the coaster. Gets launched up vertically. Here even has a beyond vertical drop. Yeah, there's lots of action here for the coaster. Also some really nice custom supports. Yeah, I think Nati did a really nice job on that. Now, I think this text here on the top of the roof probably could have been done a little bit nicer. This looks a little bit on the wonky side. Now, and the coaster also has a dark ride section, which is the section all around the station here. Yeah, I think this looks really cool. You can see this forest here. There's a bit of a darker section. But yeah, lots of stuff to see in this entry. By the way, if you want to download these entries for yourself, you can get them on my Discord server. You can find a link in the video description, and Discord is completely free. Okay, and then here's the final entry. This is the entry from Timmy Tuner, and this entry just blew me away. Yeah, there's just so much cool stuff in this entry. Just lots of stuff to unpack. I think this was the coolest part of the entry. So you can see the coaster arrive here, and then these doors slide open, and then later they close again. He actually used these monorail trains for this effect, and it's just so cool to see this happen. I also really like this conveyor belt that you see here, also with all these mechanics next to them. Yeah, it's just so fun to look at everything. Here you can see the doors open again. Wherever you look in this entry, there's just all these cool gadgets, widgets to see. The coaster is also amazing. Yeah, there's just so much happening with this coaster. No, this is still the dark ride section. Here you can see this blob from outer space inside this tank. Yeah, that's just so awesome. Yeah, there's just too many really cool things in this entry. You can see the coaster emerge from one of these tubes. I believe this is where the coaster escapes. Then over here, travels through the water, and then it goes inside the building. And yeah, here just lots of stuff will happen with this coaster. Now, I'm not going to follow it entirely in this video. It's quite difficult to follow it all throughout this entry, also because there's some shoestring shenanigans going on. Here the coaster dropped backwards first, and then it travels upwards again. Yeah, there's just so much happening here. Yeah, it's really a joy to go through this entry. If you haven't seen this entry for yourself yet, do yourself a favor and download it from my Discord server. Yeah, it's just so much fun to go through this entry, and it's just really incredible to explore. An amazing job from Timmy Tuner. Alright, then it's time to reveal which one of these last 2 entries is the winner of this round. Is it this awesome lab entry from Timmy Tuner? Or is it the wonderful Bill Cipher entry from Natty's Dreamland? And the winner of the Dark Ride section coaster contest is... Timmy Tuner! Now, Timmy Tuner hasn't joined many contests yet, but he is sure making a name for himself. I think it's incredible what he put together here. He must have put many hours into this contest, because it really shows. I think this is one of the best entries we've received for a contest so far. There's just so much in this entry. I think that's wonderful. And I think there's quite a few tricks which I may also use in future parks that I built. This is definitely a park that I will go back to for inspiration later. Alright, that's going to be it for this video. If you enjoyed watching these entries, please like this video. It would really help out my channel. I would love to hear in the comments which one of these entries was your favorite. And if you want to see more of these videos, you can always subscribe to my channel. Alright, that's going to be it for this video. Hope you enjoyed it. I'll see you again in the next one. See you later.